Mike Bohn here at the Riyadh airport with No Sleep Nicksick, just a couple hours removed from Francis Ngannou's big win, PFL Battle of the Giants, the new superfight champion. Eric, I'm sure this has been a very emotional past few hours, man, so just walk me through it. What's it been like since that moment Francis got the job done?
It's good, man. You know, we haven't really had, it was like the fight was over, and then Francis felt like was kind of in a rush to get out of there, you know, and then back to the hotel and packed, and then now it's kind of hit the reset button and head out to Abu Dhabi. But, you know, I can see the weight lifted off of his shoulders immediately, you know, and I think that was a lot of my emotional reaction was, you know, when he won the fight, I just wanted to get there and get in there and be with my boy, you know. He's been through a lot, and more than I think a lot of us will ever know. You know, it's just an unimaginable set of events that occurred, and you know, and then not only that, coming back and winning in the fashion that he won. So just a lot of emotions.
Yeah, and I want to go to before the fight because when we talked to him in the locker room briefly, he revealed that he had a rib injury as well coming into this fight. So, and he was like maybe close to pulling out. How bad was that?
You know, it was bad enough to where you got to think like he blew out his knee and wasn't going to pull out the Cyril Gane fight, you know. So, and there's a difference, I think. Yeah, different stakes, but it also like it was a different type of pain for him, you know. And obviously we had a grappling heavy game plan, but he was worried about if he was put on his back, like how he would be able to move and try to grapple with an injured rib. But once he went to the doctors and they cleared him on the MRI and everything else, I think he realized, he's like, okay, I think I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna get through this stuff.
Did that limit him in any way? Like we saw how the fight unfolded. You know, he struck with him just long enough to convince him that he was going to strike, and then change levels. It was beautiful, smart game plan. Did that revolve around the injury at all, or was that the game plan regardless?
No, I mean the game plan obviously was to take the fight wherever it goes, wherever it takes us. But the intentions were to get him on the ground. So it was just when the opportunity presented itself, and we just told Francis, like, hey, whenever you see your opening, if he's stepping in hard on that jab, or if he's off balancing himself because we thought he might come out emotional, let's just change levels and put him on his back. So, you know, it was more of a vision thing for Francis. Hey, if you feel like it's there, we knew if we backed him up to the barrier, because that was what we saw in a lot of the tape when Rizvan and other guys that fought him backed him to the barrier, that we would have a pretty good entrance off that double.
Was there any concern when he was trying to go for the armbar and the triangle there, or did you feel pretty confident in Francis's top game in those spots?
I knew I would say the triangle was the one thing we were kind of like looking at, and then the triangle transitioned into like a leg lock or a heel hook. I think that's what he was looking to do. So, but once he was kind of postured up, and I saw where Francis's posture was, and he draped the knee across the face, and I was like, man, like just thinking to myself, like how many times, you know, Francis has been on top and taking ground and pound from Francis, and he's being nice to me, you know, just thinking about like him draping a knee across a dude's face and then hammer fisting you, he's gonna get out of that triangle pretty quick, and we saw, you know, he got out.
The only slight bit of controversy I'd say around this fight is seemed like a couple of the shots in the final sequence, maybe the back of the head. It seemed like he turned into it in the first one, and he was already really badly hurt. So I don't know if it like affected the result. But any, I guess, thoughts on any complaints about that?
I didn't even hear or see, to be honest with you. I didn't even hear or see. So I mean, if it was, I would have to look and see when it was. But arguably that fight could have been stopped a lot sooner. So I don't know when those strikes occurred. I mean, I've seen some of the replays, but I never really like looked at it to go, oh, that was in the back of the head or anything like that. So
I think he was already done, and like you said, I think Dan let him take a few too many shots as it was. So
I hopped up at one point, so I thought it was over, and I was like, it's over, and then Dan's just like, oh, this guy must owe Dan money. So I sat back down and watched him take that whooping.
That moment between you and Francis, I'm sure, was very personal, and may not want to repeat exactly what was said, but I guess what was that like? If there is anything you want to share, just kind of walk us through what happened there.
I mean, there wasn't a lot of words being said. It was just, I just wanted to be there and just hug my boy, man. Like, you know, seeing the emotions that he's had the last 6 months, and not only that, even going back to the Anthony Joshua fight, just a lot of questioning, and you know, just it was heavy. It was just heavy, and like, there wasn't a lot being said. I just told him I loved him, gave him a big old hug, and, you know, just wanted to kind of just be there with him and just support him. That's all.
I know you talk to him almost every day, but he did a lot of this camp in France, right? So, like, how much time did you actually spend it with him in the lead up to this? And when you came here, knowing he kind of did his camp out of your eyesight a lot, was there any like questions or concern when you actually arrived here for fight week?
No, but you do, like, you just don't know because of the unknown. So we spent a lot of time in Vegas getting ready, and then I believe he left like late July, early August, went back to Cameroon for a little bit. I think that's when Brett went out there, and they hung out there, and then the boys all went to Paris, Dewey and Tripp, and then I went to Paris for 11, 12 days. So right after Noche, I flew out and then did 12 days in Paris with them, and then just kind of hey, what are you guys thinking? How are we going to put this all together? Speaking on the phone and doing whatever else. But Dewey and Tripp, man, those guys spent 2 months away from home, away from their families. Tripp being the strength and conditioning coach, and Dewey obviously his right hand man. So we're a good team, man. We're cohesive, and once we kind of know what we want to do and how we want to accomplish the fight, I think Francis just was able to take the game plan and go ahead and do what he wanted.
I think the most powerful thing Francis said to us post-fight, like backstage, was he was a different person now than he was before everything happened with his son, and he didn't know if he still had it. And the reason he took this fight was he wanted to know. I guess what was like your stance on that? Did you have some of those same questions?
I never questioned him, but I know he was questioning himself all the way even up to the day of the fight. I know that he carried a different type of weight to him. And, all I told him was, I said, there's no other person in the world that I've ever met that has the courage and the resiliency that you have. And if there's anybody that can get through some sort of adversity, it's going to be you. And I don't know what it is about, God or fate or the universe, but they put things in front of you. They put things in front of you because they want to see you get through it. And that was my thing for him. I just said to him, I said, if we're going to conjure up things, if we're going to think things, then let's think good things, and let's think that good outcomes are going to happen. And lo and behold, they did.
What did you and him and Cristiano Ronaldo talk about in the locker room before the fight?
Oh, dude, he was so cool. Like, he was like super down to earth, super cool guy. He was actually a huge fight fan. So he had a bunch of questions. Like, he was talking to me about like Strickland. He was talking about this and like whatever fight it was, and really down to earth. And then at one point, Francis got up to wrap his hands, and then Ronaldo was kind of talking about like, he could feel Francis's energy, and he's like, he goes, I'm going to give him words of encouragement. Like, he was talking about the loss of one of his children, and just kind of how he related to that and things like that. So it was actually pretty cool. Like, I know how big of a star he is, but like him sitting next to me and just having this very, very personal conversation was, he felt like he was part of the team, like right then and there, and his son was in there with us and hanging out. So it was a very much a welcomed energy to have in the room, especially with somebody with that stature that understands the highest of pressure. So it was cool, man. He was a great guy, very down to earth.
I know you've been a part of a lot of big moments. From a personal standpoint, I guess, where does this rank, seeing what Francis was able to do here?
They're all different. It's like, how do you rank your kids, It's like, sure. You love them all differently. But this one was important because this was the one that was in front of us, and we knew, what this one meant, not only to Francis, but his family, and the rest of the family that was there, Dewey, myself, everybody. I mean, it was important. Like, my sister sent me a video and of my family watching it, and my entire household is bawling. They're in tears because they feel it, because Francis is part of our family as well. So there was a ripple effect that I think, it took a toll on everybody, and we just wanted to see the best for our guy.
What do you think he ends up doing next? Is it back to boxing? Is it stay in MMA? I love him in MMA. I think that's where he shines brightest. The boxing stuff is awesome, but like, I got into MMA first. I'm an MMA reporter, so like, I want to see this guy kill people in MMA.
Right, who knows? He's probably going to get in a WWE next or something. Who knows? Whatever's in front of him, he's going to conquer it. So, it's a good question, Mike. I'm looking forward to whatever he does. Obviously, being his MMA coach, I prefer it to be in MMA. But, I mean, if we're going to fight once a year in MMA, then that's the outcome, then by all means.
Well, he told me coming in that he thinks he only has like a couple more years left, and he doesn't want to, be one of the guys who has the sport, take him away. And
Yeah, and it's funny because when he came back to the gym, and it was more like a coping mechanism for him to come to the gym and train. It had no connotations of like, oh, I'm gonna fight, I want to get back into MMA. this was like, I want to be around my brothers, and I want to train, and I want to get my mind off of this tragedy that happened. And I think he fell in love again with the process. I think he fell in love with the competition, and I think the team brought that out of him. And I couldn't be happier, that he felt comfortable enough to be around the boys, and I think that's kind of what set him free.
And that was just my boarding announcement for my flight here. We're both off to Abu Dhabi for UFC 308. Dan Ige against Lerone Murphy. Just your excitement quickly, your quick comment on that fight.
Oh, man, I can't wait. This is a great fight. Both guys in the featherweight division. Lerone Murphy, undefeated, very talented prospect. And, Dan Ige is the guy that's got to turn these guys away. So I'm excited to see our guy come in with a full camp and not 4 hours notice and, go scrap.